spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scary-ish podcast.
Woo!
Where we tell you guys some interesting, creepy-ish, scary-ish stuff.
You still act surprised when I do that, and we've done this a lot of times. 67
Because
regular episodes, in fact.
It doesn't ever get any less annoying.
Yeah, but I think people expect it from me, so I have to keep doing it. But anyways, who are we?
I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And we're gonna be telling you stuff.
Indeed. I'm pretty excited. I started out my research on an item that I've heard about. I'm doing a cursed object. However, I'm not going to tell you. The listeners know because they can just read the episode title and be like, oh, that's what he's covering. But yeah, I dug into it and I was like, this is some really good stuff. So I'm excited to get to my stuff. And what are you covering this week?
So I'm going to be covering episode 2 of Paranormal Games.
I'm excited because I really, really enjoyed the first episode of Paranormal Games.
Thanks.
So I'm excited to see what you bring to the table this week. So good stuff. Wow, I don't know what that was.
Isn't that what it sounds like at basketball games or something when they do that horn sound?
It's a little bit louder. You leaned away from the microphone, so it wasn't. It's like.
No, that's not how it sounds.
No, I think that's like something dropping a beat or something like that. I don't know. Wow.
We're just going to make
this is getting worse
noises
and worse. Before we jump into our topics, though, we want to remind you folks that if you're sending us your stories, please email storytime@scarish.com. Robin, if someone wants to send us their stories, we call them homegrown horrors. What sort of stories are we looking for?
So if you guys want to share your stories, it could be paranormal, supernatural, spiritual things, like say you feel like a family member came back to say bye to you or something like that. We get a lot of those, which is great. Some funny coincidences that have happened where you think you're getting haunted, but it's actually something absolutely
Those are my absolute
hilarious.
favorite because they're so funny when that happens.
But yeah, so just send us your experiences. It's great.
And we're reading those on the Friday episodes that release for all of you folks who listen via audio, and anyone who wants to join us for the live recordings of those episodes. We call them Storytime, and we record it live at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday. So you can join us at twitch.tv/scarishpodcast or youtube.com/scarish. So before we move on to the rest of the intro stuff that everyone loves to skip, because I totally understand it because you've heard it a million times, quick thing to announce, we did pick the dates for our trip to the Winchester Mansion. I don't know why I said dates because it's really just date. But it's going to be June 9th, 2019, which is a Sunday.
Sunday.
We announced it on the Storytime episodes, and some people have told us, like, I don't really listen to the Storytimes or listen to the topic episodes, so if you didn't hear about this last week, we're letting you guys know, and we're going to continue to let you know all the way up until Winchester meetup date. So it's June 9th, so if you would like to book your travel preparations, if you don't live near San Jose, now you can start looking into information, and you have some advance notice, and on top of that, we're going to have to buy tickets so that we can all go to the Winchester Mansion together. And what's going to be kind of cool about that is that the tickets don't go on sale until May. So starting May 1st, you'll be able to buy tickets to the thing, and we're going to post a poll. I posted on the Scary-ish website. No one went to it. So we're going to post it on Facebook and let you folks let us know if you're definitely coming, maybe you're going to come, or you're for sure that you're not coming, in which case you really don't need to vote in the poll. So we have an idea of how many folks might show up, because if we have more than like 26 people, we can coordinate with Winchester themselves for a private viewing, and it will actually be a little bit less money. But if we have less than that, then we'll just take the normal tour, and we can all just coordinate on May 1st and buy our tickets. And it'll be really exciting to go and meet some of you folks and see a supposedly really creepy, really haunted place that's also absolutely gorgeous if you look at any of the pictures. And we're going to have links posted on our website so that if you want to go check out their website, you can absolutely do that just by checking out scarish.com. And if you go to scarish.com, you're also going to see our store tab, which has a bunch of our products. Every single product that we have listed across whatever platform we're selling it through, you can find on the scarish.com store, and just kind of see what we have to offer. A lot of the things have different sizes, different colors, all that fun stuff. And Robin just got a new set of stickers today that are going to be going out to Patreon people in particular. So
yeah, so the new stickers we got in are for this season. So for Patreon, if you go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast, you'll see the breakdown and everything on there. But what I do is every season I design a new sticker and pretty much a new design that I turn into either pinback buttons or zipper pulls, or I just got a whole bunch of stuff for button magnets. So I'm going to be making button magnets this season. And I posted it on Instagram, on our Instagram story and our Facebook story, I think. But if you take a look at it, that's our new design. And I mail the stickers, and the magnets are going to be sent out this month since I just got all the stuff in. And I hand make, I package all the buttons and stuff myself. And hopefully you guys like it.
And it goes to everyone who has the Badge of Honor tier,
Yep,
correct?
Badge of Honor and
or
above.
higher.
Yep.
So thank you to those of you who support us at that level or higher. We appreciate every single one of you. And to anyone who supports us at the lower levels, you get access to a bunch of different stuff. You can go check that out. I know the $1 is the entry point that most people like to go. It's $1 a month, and you get early access to all of our content. So pretty good stuff. If you want to reach out to us with your story as well, you don't have to email us. You can go to scarish.com, click contact us, send it to us that way. Facebook.com/scarishpodcast. You can message us there. You can also post it on our Scary Spooky Friends group if you want some instant feedback. And you can tweet at us at scarishpod. And you can message us on Instagram at scarishpodcast. All of those things work. And we've been getting more of your stories. We appreciate that. A lot of you folks have been like, let me know if you want more of my stories after you sent us your original batch. Absolutely we do, so send them our way. If you've been sitting on one, you're like, I'll send it to them eventually. Now is the time. I think that's just about everything that we have for the intro stuff, so we can jump into the topics for the episode. Robin, am I going first or are you going first?
You can go first.
Okay, I will go first. So this week I knew I wanted to cover something that was like a form of a curse. And for some reason, I've been thinking a lot about the movie Oculus. Do you remember that movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I've had it in my head.
I love Karen Gillan.
I know. It's like the haunted mirror. It stars Karen Gillan. And I think the reason I've been thinking of it is because we've been like talking about horror movies, and we talked about Karen Gillan on the last story time.
Are you going to cover the Mirror of Eris?
Is that the one that you can see whatever your deepest
yes.
desire is? No. I don't know where it is, so I don't think I need to cover it, so I don't need to worry about that. I'm not Dumbledore, so I don't have that knowledge. But anyways...
Dumbledore.
I've had that in my head, and I was like, I'm going to find a cursed object. There's actually a cursed mirror that's very similar to the story in Oculus, but when I was doing research, the only thing that I could really find was like a picture of the supposed mirror, and it was like squared, and then it said like actual picture of a ghost standing in the corner, and it was like an outcropping of the corner of a mirror that was rounded. And I was like, these are two completely different mirrors. I hate this website. I'm not going to continue my research any further. So I wound up switching over to something else, and I found a couple that really caught my attention. And one of them had a pretty extensive backstory, so I'm doing that one. So I present to you, dear listener, the Bassano Vase. And I hope I said that correctly. Bassano, that is, not vase. I say vase. Some
not
people
vase.
say vase. But I can't say that with my pinky up all the time, so I just say vase.
Okay. What? Who puts their pinky up while they talk?
Vase. Anyone who says vase puts their pinky up while they talk. Anyone out there saying vase right now, their pinky's instinctively going up because that's just what your body does when you say it that way. So what is the Bassano vase? Well, to put it simply, it's a vase made out of silver that was made back in the 1400s, supposedly. And I'd like to highlight the word because this whole thing could be bullshit. We always put that disclaimer out there. This is definitely one of those scenarios where the things that I've researched don't have a lot of background that I can validate, because some of it comes from the 1400s, some of it comes from a different country, and all of it comes from a different country, and some of it comes like at different eras in time, but there's no documented instances or names that I could dig up, just basically local legends or extensive legends, not even local. But it's one of those things where we're going to take all of this with a grain of salt, but it is a good story, and it's been around for a while. So we're going to go through this thing, and then we're going to speculate on whether or not we think it's real and what it possibly could be. So there's a lot of history about this vase, with almost none of it being able to be confirmed, like I mentioned, so take it with a grain of salt. That said, here we go. So the vase, which if you really want to picture in your mind's eye, it's like a really wide bowl style vase. Like, I know when I picture vases, they're usually thin and they're glass, and they like lead up to where the flowers would come out. This one's like a large bowl that comes to the top and has like a very large opening that's kind of curled outwards.
Is it a Royal Dalton bowl?
I don't know. It's not a Royal Dalton bowl for those of you who have seen Mary Poppins. It's a vase or a vase. And not a bowl. But if you want to picture this the way it looks like, think of the water jugs that everyone puts in, like the 5-gallon water jugs for water coolers that like everyone's seen everywhere. Like, take one of those, stand it so that the spout is on the top, get rid of the handle so it's just perfectly round, and make the opening on the top bigger. And that's essentially what this vase looks like, except it's made out of silver.
Are you going to post a picture?
I'll post a picture, but it's in like black and white. It's from a newspaper from 1988. So it's not the best depiction, but you'll get a picture of it if you check out our Instagram. So now that you have it in your mind's eye, you can kind of see what this thing looks like. It's not very large. It's not like the size of like a 5-gallon water jug. It's actually only 4 pounds, which isn't incredibly heavy. But for a vase that's made out of pure silver, then it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Cool.
So hopefully you have an idea of what this thing looks like. It was crafted in a village close to Napoli, Italy, which I think I said that right. Which means when you say Bassano Vase, you got to like squeeze your fingers together.
Oh my gosh.
And move them with each syllable. And I don't know if that joke is racist, but all I do know is that it's really fun to do. Because whenever you say stuff and you pinch your like fingers together, I don't know, it's just a good time. And at least 25% of the listeners out there, that's the number I'm guessing. When I said that you got to pinch your fingers together and like move them, had just to do that whether you're in your car or in your office, like that's what you had to do just because it's fun. You're welcome. Anyways, getting back to the vase.
Christ.
Its creator is lost to history. No one knows the name of them. No one knows who they were. Probably just some normal dude or lady or warlock or witch. Who knows? Because if we're talking about a cursed object, maybe whoever made it had something to do with the reason that it is the way it is. But its original recipient was supposedly an Italian woman who was about to get married. And she received this thing on the night before her wedding. And I'm not sure who gave it to her, but they're basically like, yo, dog, congrats on getting married tomorrow. Here is a vase. I hope this piece of silver that holds flowers somehow helps you in your new life. Which, as a side note, it doesn't give money. People want money. They don't need vases. Watch the wedding scene from Goodfellas if you want to know what I'm talking about. Like, and then picture that scene and people are handing her vases instead of envelopes full of money. It just has a significantly different effect.
I don't know. I would appreciate kitchen things.
Kitchen things?
Yeah. As a wedding gift, I'd want kitchen stuff.
Would a vase count then?
I want like a freaking KitchenAid. I want one of those big stand mixers so I don't have to do everything by hand.
You know what you can get a KitchenAid with? Money.
I hate you.
You can get whatever you need with money. I'm just saying money's the universal gift that will help you start your life. And if you pick an item, then you better know that that person wants it. So maybe she did want a vase really, really bad and someone commissioned it or made it for her. We don't know. All I know is that if they would have given her money, she could have bought her own vase and maybe it would not have been cursed. So who knows? Anyways, this woman is basically like, thank you. I'm going to go now. One last night of being non-married. I'm going to live it up, which is ironic words. Live it up, because the next day came.
Oh gosh, she was dead.
Depending on the story, she either got married, ceremony, reception, the whole shebang, and then arrived to the honeymoon suite, where when newlyweds get there, they're pretty much going to bang to consummate the marriage. So the husband left the room real quick. I don't know why. I can't speculate. Maybe to freshen up. Who knows? But when he came back, she was lying on the floor, clutching the vase. And as a side note, the other version of the story states that the morning before the wedding, someone came to get her to take her to the wedding, and no one answered her door. They eventually got into her house, and when she was found, she was on the floor of her home holding the vase.
That's weird.
It's very weird, because either way, she's holding the vase. And like when I was writing that, I was like writing that someone knocked on the door. Someone banged on our front door and scared the shit out of me.
Who banged on the front door?
It was UPS dropping off a package, but it's just like I wrote knock, and it was just like, bum, 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 bum. Like it was the police at the door.
Did the
and the
dogs
dogs lost their mind. So I literally just jumped. It freaked me out. And then I went downstairs. There was no one at the door. So I was like, okay, cool. It's not the black-eyed children. And then I opened the window and just checked and looked out. I was like, oh, there's a package. Got it. Came upstairs, cleaned off the chair, changed my pants. I was good to go. So, I mean, that's happened before to a lot of people. I'm sure you've peed or pooped yourself from being scared. So it's, I'm not alone
Never
in that.
happened.
It will happen to you eventually. So, anyways, in both stories, she's barely clinging to life while holding this vase. I've seen accounts where she was already dead.
With drugs or something?
I don't know, but save that for the speculation part at the end. It is curious to note that she died like within 12 hours, it seems like 12 to 24 hours of touching this thing or receiving it as a gift.
Can't resist licking it.
Right? And of course, like she had it wrapped in her arms when she was found. Some say she was found dead, some state that she was alive, and before dying she vowed to come back from beyond the grave and get some of that sweet, sweet revenge. Which just begs the question, like, who do you need revenge against? Because unless she knew the person who made it versus the person who gave it to her,
drugs.
It's just really curious. So this woman gets it,
and curiouser,
and she dies. So after finding this poor woman, the wedding celebration, whether it happened already or was about to happen, it gets turned into a funeral. You know what I mean? Like, eventually they're going to have to bury her.
Were there 4 weddings and a funeral?
Yeah, this is just terrible. Now you're just referencing things that match words. So what happens at funerals? Well, again, people bang. Just kidding, but not really, because grief is nature's most powerful aphrodisiac.
No, it isn't.
We know that. It's a line from Wedding Crashers, but it's kind of true at the same time. So anyways, after finding this poor woman, the wedding celebration turned to this funeral. And what else happens at a funeral? Well, after the funeral, people have to go through your stuff. Like, your stuff has to go somewhere.
So someone else touches it.
Well, in most cases, like, family goes through your stuff and divvies up your shit. And believe it or not, someone took this vase that she was given the night before she passed away. And, like, I have had relatives offer me things of my deceased relatives before. Like, after someone passed away, we went to clean up their place. They're like, do you want this?
Nah, I'm good, dog.
It's kind of very awkward. And you're just like, no, I'm okay. They're like, hey, do you want their TV? I'm like, no, dude, I have a TV. I don't want to, like, have a new TV and put it in a new room and be like, oh, yeah, that's my cousin's TV from when they died. I don't think I've had any cousins that died, knock on wood. But, like, that's just the point I'm trying to make here.
To me, it'd be like, oh, yeah, now the TV's haunted. I'm good.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's kind of morbid, and you might want something that has sentimental value that, like, was something of import between you and that person. You might want to keep it to remember them by. But this vase is, like, brand new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But still, someone took it. And so there's something about this that bothers me because these parts of this quote-unquote legend don't have names. And there's no specifics. You don't know the relationship between the person that took it and the recently deceased. It's just general information that just further pads the idea that this object is haunted. I'd like to think that whoever took this vase was one of those people that are, like, so excited that someone passed away because they can't wait to get their hands on your stuff versus someone they actually cared about. And the reason I'd like to think that is because, of course, after this person takes it, within a couple of months, they are also dead. And because there's no specifics in this story, we don't know exactly what they died of, and we don't know exactly what the first person died of, but you kind of hope it was a bad person that received comeuppance and not a good person who, like, didn't want to take it, and they, like, were forced, like, no, take her vase, she'd want you to have it. And then they wind up dying because of it. So you have another funeral on your hands, same family, few months later, and another person takes the vase and takes it home with them, which is just bizarre to me because at this point, I don't have to imagine that this person was a bad person to take the vase. Like, we're on to the third person receiving it now. Like, they're just dumb. Like, don't take this item. There's something clearly wrong with this item.
What if they have no idea that the vase killed someone before?
You should have. Well, that's the thing. It's the same family. So it's like, unless they gave it to a friend who had no idea who the other person was, like, they should know. Like, you should just, at this point, be suspecting. Like, it's like if you got a new car and then died right after that, like, in your new car holding the steering wheel, and then one of your friends or family took that car after you passed away, and then they died under mysterious circumstances in similar manner or fashion, and then another person was like, no, I'll take the car. Like, the car's nice, I'll take the car. Yeah, but what if
say it's that person's family, right, or friend for that first person that died that took it, and then this person's friend that had no relation to the first person.
You think this person, you're saying that you're thinking that the third person had no idea what happened to the first person.
Yeah, it's possible.
They are far enough removed that they don't know and no one would warn them.
Yeah. Maybe this person, the person that picked it up the first time was like, hey, look at my new vase. And then they died. So their friend is like, oh, I have no idea where they got the vase from.
Well, the legend states that it was someone in the same family still. So it wasn't like a friend of the family who just, like, showed up to the funeral like, I'm so sorry, but yo, that's a nice vase. Like, it was someone who was still within the family. And I'll tell you why that's part of the legend, because the third person who took it, of course, died right after obtaining it within a few months as well. And at this point, the family recognized there's something wrong with this vase. And, of course, like, to me, it's like you kind of knew after the second one and you were just kind of testing it out. Or they straight up knew, and at this point they're like, well, we killed off the two cousins nobody likes with the cursed vase because we were testing this theory and it turns out it was right. At this point, we need to get rid of it. So after 3 deaths, they decide, let's go ahead and get rid of it. And like any person in a story with something paranormal, they don't do what you imagine that they would do to actually put an end to these tragic outcomes. That's where I went, like, melt the thing down, get rid of it, or turn it into something else.
No, you can't turn it into something else. Because if you turn it into something else, then you're splitting that curse into multiple items, and it's just going to get spread out and spread out and spread out, and then more people are going to die. That's just how curses work.
But they didn't do that. So they didn't destroy the thing. There's debate about exactly what they did. Some people say that they took this into their own hands. Other people say that they gave it to a priest. Some people say that this is entirely fake, so it doesn't matter. But what is said to have happened is someone took it away, put it in a box, boxed it up, left a note in it, and buried it in an unknown location.
Oh, that's good.
And they were basically like, we're going to get rid of this thing.
That's smart, right?
Well, I mean, kind of, yeah. It just reeks of Jumanji to me. So when I heard that they boxed it up and buried it, I was like,
hear the drumming.
I was thinking, like, I could hear the drums in my head immediately. So before we move on, I can't help but wonder if there was like an actual local legend before the part I'm about to get to. Like the thing I just told you, was that something people in this area had heard about before this happened, or is this something that cropped up after these events that are supposedly documented somewhere I can't find? But I don't know. Like, we don't know. All we know is these drums are happening, and whoever got sucked into that thing didn't roll a 5 or an 8, and that's on them. So,
wow. Did you see that they're making a new Jumanji?
I figured they were going to, because the reboot was wildly successful. So
yeah,
I still really like the original, but the reboot was kind of good. I kind of liked it.
It's not great. It's not absolutely amazing. It's super campy. It's just cute.
Yeah.
Because all the actors are adorable. I love Jack Black.
Jack Black's super good.
Like, I'm very excited because you can see in the picture that they posted that it's all the same characters, because why wouldn't it? Because it's a video game at this point, right?
Yeah, and they're getting the original cast of the kids who played those like characters back too. I don't know if they're gonna play the game again, or if they're just gonna be in it to be like, oh yeah, you shouldn't play that game, or like whatever the case may be. But they're all gonna come back, so that's kind of cool.
Snap! Yeah, I think it'll be really cute.
So let's get to the sequel of the Bassano Vase and what happened here. So they buried this thing, and this thing stayed hidden away, and no one found this for 500 years.
No way.
They say that no one had this thing. This thing never showed back up. No one talked about this anymore until it showed back up in 1988. That someone supposedly located it by unearthing it. And of course, that's super vague too, whether it was someone that found it on their land or some asshole out there digging with a shovel and just like digging holes randomly through Italy trying to find stuff. Or maybe he had like one of those metal detectors and he found something buried. Who knows? But 1988 is when this thing supposedly resurfaced. And if you don't remember 1988, or you're like Robin and you weren't born yet, let me jog your memory or inform you. As a side note, this has kind of become my favorite part of doing research, is when I get to talk about a year and talk about all the fun things that happened then, or not so fun things. So 1988.
My parents were about to bang.
Good for them. Good work on them.
Yeah.
But what was going on in this country, the United States? Well, crack was spreading across the country, so that's cool. Everyone remember that. The first laser eye surgery took place in the United States, might I add. Canada had the Winter Olympics. They hosted it in 1988. Movies that hit the silver screen in 1988, which is just so much fun.
True Lies?
No. I was alive when True Lies came out and remembered it. I was alive in 1988 too. Fuck, I'm old. Movies that came out in 1988. Big. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Beetlejuice.
I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Twins. And, of course, Die Hard. So, some pretty good movies in 1988.
I have watched Twins, but I just think it's a very weird premise.
It is a weird premise, but it's still a really good premise. So, TV shows that started in 1988, Roseanne, The Wonder Years, which was formative in my life. Not Frasier, no. I think Cheers was on still, or it had started recently. But
I have no idea. I wasn't
Frasier
born
came
yet.
from Cheers. You know that, right?
No.
Frasier was a patron of the bar at Cheers.
I wouldn't know.
How would you not know?
Because I never watched these things.
And, of course, something else that started in 1988, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Mystique.
Which I absolutely love. Did you always think that it was Mystique because you didn't know what it actually was?
Yes.
Wow.
I was like, man, why does Felicia Day's shirt say Mystique?
That's funny. So, and we've already established in 1988, some idiot was digging holes in the countryside of Italy and found a box. So, inside that box, he found a 4-pound silver vase that appeared to be quite old. And apparently there was this note inside that read, quote, and this is what all the legends say, quote, "Beware, this vase brings death." So, pretty solid warning label,
Was it
I'd
worth
say.
a lot?
Well, no. The person did what any person would do upon discovering
Take it to
an apparently cursed object.
Antiques Roadshow?
No, he didn't take it to Antiques Roadshow, but you're pretty close. He put it up for auction. And, of course, he put it up for auction originally without the warning label, which didn't come to light until a little bit later. And, of course,
how long is a little bit later?
After the first death. So, of course, it sold. And some places say that it sold for 4 million lira. Some places say 3 million. Some places
we're still
say
in Italy. Okay.
$2,250 in US dollars. Basically, let's go with 4 million lira. There's a bunch of discrepancy about how much it sold for. 4 million lira is really closer to $3,000. So let's just say it sold for $3,000. $3,000 in 1988. And we'll move on past that.
That's a lot in 1988.
It is. I mean, it's an old piece, and you can confirm apparently that this thing is 500 years old. And if you're really looking at it, it could be a valuable piece to the right buyer.
So
and
they
we'll
can
get to
carbon
there.
date it.
I don't know if they carbon dated it or if they just like looked at the patina and like licked the side of it. I don't know what they do on Antiques Roadshow, and they're like, 500 years old and cursed. This tastes pretty good. So what
and
we
then
do
they
know,
died because it's covered in drugs.
What we do know is that they sold this thing And the person who purchased it was a local pharmacist to the area. Again, none of these people are going to have names, and I absolutely hate that. And I did some digging and tried to find like auction records from 1988 in all these different towns nearby in Italy. Could not find anything. But like I said, it's more of a legend than anything else. But this pharmacist purchased the vase, and he was super stoked. He had this artifact that dated back half a millennia, like 500 years is a long time. And this is where I really wonder if there was anyone connecting the dots, that there was this local legend about this vase that killed people. And then this silver vase that's 500 years old just randomly surfaces. But at this point, they probably weren't thinking that. They were just thinking, like, here's this really old piece. And 3 months after the pharmacist purchased this item, he died. Mysteriously died. Mysteriously in quotation marks. No official word on how, but they had passed away.
It was a mistake.
I hate you so much. As before, the family came in and cleaned up this guy's estates, but this is kind of a sign of the times changing from like 1400s to 1988. They didn't take this item, but instead that they put it up for sale. And it sold really quickly because this is still a really nice piece, and a 37-year-old local surgeon who was apparently like well known and very healthy in the prime of his life and his career purchased this. Very excited to have it. Again, it's a piece that, you know, someone who is well off, who has decent money, wants to show off and be like, look at this thing. It's from the Renaissance era. And again, 37 years old, prime of his life, died in 3 months. So 3 months passed, and this guy died. Again, mysteriously died, and no one knew why. He was supposedly incredibly healthy, but he passed away. So within 6 months of this thing being put up for auction, it's again starting to claim lives pretty regularly every 3 months. And then people start talking about the fact that it might be cursed. And then the story comes out that it was just found and it had this note. And people are starting to get really, really creeped out by it. But at the same time, people are still interested in it. And the doctor's family comes in and again puts it up for sale. And it sells again. And this time an archaeologist was interested in the piece because of its age. And on top of that, you know, it's a Renaissance piece. It's very old. And maybe they had an inkling. I'd like to think that this person had an inkling that this might be in like the legendary cursed item that supposedly these people had heard about before. So he purchased it. And for some reason, I thought of this piece like being transported to him by like locals who worked for him or maybe worked for the auctioneers. And on the way, some young rapscallion showed up and stole it and made off with it, and a great chase ensued where they hunted him down and caught him. And they're like, "That's not yours. It doesn't belong to you." And he's like, "It belongs in a museum."
So do you.
Which is me obviously quoting Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which came out in 1989, so it's pretty close. So I don't know. Maybe that's where they got it from. Probably not. But that said, this dude was a collector of artifacts and antiques, so it made sense that he'd want a Renaissance-era silver piece that's really nice.
So is it Renaissance
or Renaissance?
Renaissance?
I don't know. Someone asked Ted Mosby. Don't, though. I hate his character so much. So, 2 people in recent times have died within 2 to 3 months of taking possession of this cursed item. And whether or not this vase is being thought of as the cursed vase of the past, you might want to take precautions at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, own it, but don't touch it. Don't be near it. Just display it somewhere. Or maybe donate it to a museum, but no one does that.
Wear a hazmat suit around it because of the drugs.
You're going straight up with a drug theory then.
What if it's radiation?
Well, we're going to get to a bunch of different theories, okay? So hold your horses on that one.
Ugh.
So you might just not want to buy this stupid fucking vase. That's what I would do. But he does because he can. And realistically, like, this is something that he really, really wanted. And for a while, it seemed like this wasn't a bad buy. And I think for a while is probably the worst phrase I could have used. I didn't mean that. What I meant was for a month or two, it seemed like it was a pretty good buy. And then after that, he contracted a very weird infection, which he went to his local doctors to have like researched.
Radiation burns.
Yo, there's something wrong with me. And they weren't quite sure what it was.
He's
and at
turning
this point,
into a scorched.
I hate you so much. At this point, a scorch, for those of you who don't know, is from Fallout. So at this point, if this was a movie, they'd be like, we had a doctor doing research on an infection just like this one, but sadly he passed away recently. And then you'd find out that it was the doctor who just died who he bought the vase from. But that's not what happened here. I'm just saying if that was a movie.
Oh, okay.
That's what would happen because it would all tie together. But no, that didn't happen. He just had an infection, and doctors were like, "Oi, mate, like you should get that checked out."
What? Where is this?
Well, it's an Australian doctor, but they're in Italy. So Is that what breaks your immersion? Like, did my misplaced accent of a doctor ruin the
Because
narrative?
that wasn't even Australian.
Of a vase that kills people? That's where you're like, whoa, bro.
But it wasn't even an Australian accent. You're
I
doing
said
like
oi.
a Cockney accent.
Oi was pretty good. I thought I nailed the oi. I'm not very good at Australian.
That's not Australian.
Oi? Yes, it is. O-I? Oi. Yeah,
I
nailed
feel
it
like-
again. It's like you're there.
No. No. Get out.
No, I refuse. So what does happen is this infection gets worse, and you guessed it, the archaeologist dies approximately 3 months after taking possession of the cursed vase.
I'm just thinking about you having to look up the line. I gotta, what is it?
See a man about a wallaby?
Yeah, I gotta see a man about a wallaby.
It's from Crocodile Dundee. We confirmed that tonight. So it's just something that Robin's sister says all the time. We're just like, where the hell is that from? So anyways, getting back to the cursed vase. At this point, you've got to be thinking that this vase is resurfaced, or if not, that you have a new cursed vase on your hands, because 3 owners have died all within 3 months, and the only exception to that is the dude who sold it, the guy who found it, which is clearly the devil, who just wanted to put it back out into the world, or the guy got it and put it in storage because he didn't want it near him, but he wanted to sell the stupid thing, which was something that anyone else could have done as well. But the family of this guy, the archaeologist, doesn't want it, because who would at this point? People were starting to get the impression that this thing was cursed, or there was something wrong with it, or it was unlucky. So locals knew about this thing, and they were tracking the history of this item. You look like you have something that you want to say.
I'm just thinking about you saying oi.
I hate you so much. So
Sorry.
they try and sell it, and according to this story, they had a very difficult time finding a buyer for this, because everyone was like, I don't want this thing. I don't want to give you money for this thing
And then
that's going to kill me.
Zach Bagels.
No. I imagine if they find this thing again, because it's missing again, but I imagine if they find this thing again, spoilers, that he will, of course, want to buy it and then try and, like, I don't know, lure other people to look at it, but who the hell knows. But anyways, they wind up selling this thing for much less than the archaeologist purchased it for, because people were like, I'm not going to buy that, and because demand was low, that helped whoever wanted it, negotiate it.
$5 dues.
It said that they sold it for around half. So it's probably sold for around 2 million lira,
250?
or like about 250. It's probably around $1,500. But I don't know what their name is. I don't know the names of any of these people. But this last person that would own the vase, that's what we know about it. Well, we're just going to call them Dingle McCringleberry, because anyone who buys this thing at this point deserves to be mocked, and I don't feel bad about it whatsoever. This person who purchases the vase, the 4th person to own it since it resurfaces, lasted a month before dying. Just 30 days. That's how long they made it. The curse was either getting stronger or they were much weaker. Who knows? But at this point, everyone kind of has had enough. No one wants this thing. The people know about it. It's just been determined to be cursed or unlucky. There's something wrong with it. No one is going to buy this thing. And the family shows up, and they're going through this home, and one of these family members comes upon the vase.
Man, this thing's kind of cute. I need this in my living room.
I love this part. No, this family member approaches the vase. It's apparently on the 2nd floor of this person's home, picks it up, and throws it out the nearest window. They're just like, I know what this thing is, and they just chuck it. I hope the window was open, or otherwise you're going to be paying for a new window.
I'm just hearing the metal clink down the driveway, like ding, ding.
Well, it actually gets thrown pretty close to the road by the sidewalk.
And then you hear the cars just hitting it.
No,
I
you
hear all
like
the sounds.
Thunk, and some guy go, oi, because he got hit
No!
with it. But realistically, this thing struck someone that was walking by. And it just so happened, and this person clearly was unlucky too.
Well, they're in Italy, right? He's like, Mamma mia.
Wow. He turned and he had 3 fingers up in the air and he was like, how dare you?
I'm just thinking of Mario. That's the only Italian I know.
Really? I thought you were quoting something else. I don't know much about Italians except that they're amazing and they've taught me so much about cooking. Even the stuff that I cook.
That show with Aziz Ansari.
Where he goes to Italy and he learns how to speak Italian and he actually learns how to cook a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
What is it? Master of None. Season 2.
That show. Oh, so good.
It is. Anyways, getting back to this thing. So the person he hit with the vase was none other than a police officer.
He got arrested?
Was super pissed he had just been struck with a vase. The police officer knocked on the door and was like, what the F? You can't just go throwing vases out of a window. To which the family member responded, I kind of just did.
Fafa Napoli.
What is that?
That's from Friends. Joey says that because he's Italian.
So the dialogue I just made up is obviously BS. But what did happen for sure is the police officer who was angry about being struck by this thing demanded the family member come out to the street, pick up the vase, and take it inside. He also fined the family member He wrote them a ticket for what they did for apparently that well-known throwing shit out the window violation. But the family, remember, even though that they took this citation, they took the fine, refused to take that vase back in the house. They flat out told the cop, no, not happening. It is your problem now. And that is the last anyone really saw of the vase. It's not really known what happened aside from the fact that the police officer took it back to the station, and apparently the police knew about this thing too. When he took it back, they were aware of what this object was, and after that, supposedly, the locals say that the police boxed this thing up and buried it somewhere. And they're like, we're just getting rid of the friggin' thing, and no one has seen it since. Which is just a bizarre event to have happened, because it's like, how would you ever prove that this actually happened? And I literally put down, like, some kid later on is going to be walking along a beach and hear the sound of drums, and this whole thing is going to start over again. But apparently that's going to take 500 years, because that's how long it took for it to happen the first time. So this is obviously a legend. And this thing wasn't around long enough both times. And that's what makes me kind of think it's real, because if you have a cursed object that every time someone comes in possession of it, it kills people, it's not like the Dybbuk box where you keep selling it on eBay and trying to make more and more money off of it. If it's actually killing people, the last people that were going to own it are going to be the ones that get rid of it. They're going to be like, I'm going to bury this thing. Like, I'm getting rid of this thing so it doesn't hurt anyone else. So it kind of leans towards my skeptical side, where I'm like, that is kind of how it would go if it was an actual cursed object. That said, let's assume that something actually happened and we can speculate. Now, Robin, you've already said that you think this thing was apparently coated in drugs. I don't exactly know what kind of drugs.
Something that can seep into your skin, so when you touch it, you like, and the longer you touch it, it just
something that would persist for 500 years, though. It's been around
That's
for
why
a
I'm
long
like
time.
radiation,
So,
half-lives.
One easy conclusion to come to is that this whole thing is hornswoggle and hogwash. That this item never existed.
Why those
I
words?
love those words. And that this thing never existed. These people never existed. But without doing proper research, that is just as ignorant of a conclusion to come to as it all happened, without a doubt, exactly how the legend says. Both are completely uninformed. Both know of the legend and just pick one polar opposite on. So let's split the difference and examine this from a perspective of, if this happened, how and why. And the debate on the series of tubes known as the interwebs has skeptics who believe the object existed, but they accredit the deaths to coincidence. To which I reply, coincidence? I think maybe, but probably not.
What are the odds?
The odds are astronomical that this thing could always wind up with someone that's about to die in 3 months. Other skeptics on the internet, and I found these folks like kind of trying to piece these things together based off of the information you have of something that may not have existed, but they state that they think the object was probably made from a substance that wasn't silver and had some type of property that is deadly to humans.
Alien metal.
That's kind of what they're alluding to, but it's really more
Valerian steel.
Yeah, clearly it's Valerian steel, and it has the curse of Valeria or whatever it is. But other skeptics state that it was probably radioactive silver, and that's a wrap on the mystery. Because silver... I hate you so much. It was actually made out of Imagine Dragons, which is why it's so poisonous to the skin. But, as we all know, silver...
Dragons. Valerian steel. Don't leave.
I told Robin before the show, like, hey, speculate a little bit on mine because I want to hear what your thoughts are, but don't do that thing where you either sing song lyrics or you tell me that I'm an asshole and I should leave. Like, let's get some real speculation going on. So she's trying her best. I think she's doing a pretty good job. But as we all know, silver, despite being a naturally occurring substance...
the isotopes.
...does have 28 radioisotope variations. We all know that. That is to say...
We all know that.
in layman's terms, you can find a shiny metal in the ground known as silver. And there are a bunch of slightly different versions of it.
Is that why we have like stainless steel and like jewelry?
It's just like, it's still silver, but it has different properties. Like
right.
Certain things are different about it on a chemical level, or on a, I don't know, nuclear level, or an, I don't know, atomic level, so to speak. I don't fucking know the exact terms. Let me get back to my script here. So
pieces of shirt.
There's pieces of shirt in this is what I'm trying to say. But there's slightly different versions. There's 28 discovered, albeit rare, forms of silver that are actually radioactive. And some people speculate it was probably radioactive silver, and that's why people died. We talked about that. But we all know that the most stable radioisotope of silver has a half-life of 41.29 days. Half-life means that it takes that number twice for the radioactive properties to fade away. So That's 82.5 days, basically. So 3 months, and that radioactive isotope is gone. However, if we're talking about Ag, which is the symbol, y'all, for silver.
Oh my god, I can't believe you had to look all this up.
Ag, I was looking up this shit for so long. So I'm like, I'm going to speculate, I'm going to form a theory, and I'm going to be informed. Ag 108M, or 108M Ag, depending on where you're from, obviously. That isotope is silver, and it is radioactive, and its half-life is 418 years.
Wow.
That is the only form of silver that has a half-life that would reach as far as it needed to, that would even be close enough to reach as far as it needed to span 500
but that's
years.
Just the half-life. It still needs to, half-life.
Half-life, so it has to do it twice.
Yeah.
So it's 838 years for this to fade. So if they made it back in the 1400s, it would still be radioactive. I was going to say radially active. Derp. It's still going to be radioactive today.
Radiohead.
So that said, guess what? Ag 108M or 108M Ag, depending on where you're from,
sweet baby jerseys,
is synthetic. It does not occur in nature naturally.
Oh.
Or I could just say naturally, because that's what that means. It is a process that it needs to go through
scientists.
to become radioactive. You know what that means? It means there is no way this vase is made from radioactive material that would persist for 500 years.
All right.
Which leads me to my conclusion. So you ready for this?
What if it's silver, but it's like laced with a uranium isotope or like a, you know what I mean?
They don't have it to test it. So you don't know. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you my conclusion, then you can give me your conclusion. We're going to see which one of these makes the most sense. So quoting Spock, who is quoting Sherlock Holmes, which was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So we're really all just quoting him. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. So the Bassano Vase,
the game is afoot,
was indeed made out of the silver isotope known as 108M. How? The only logical explanation. The isotope was used as fuel for some form of time travel device.
Oh it was the TARDIS.
And the time traveler, believing it to be out of juice, disposed of it before returning home to their time. Because if it's out of juice, it's just silver, and they're like, no big deal. But they dumped a fully charged isotope on accident. They left one of their batteries behind. And someone came by, saw this thing, made a vase out of it, and because we have no idea who made the vase, we don't know if they died or not. What we do know is that just about everyone who took possession of this vase died within 2 to 3 months, with the exception of the woman who received it as a gift very first time, who died within 24 hours.
Oh.
So what happened to her? She was murdered.
What?
You're welcome.
She was murdered?
This is my theory. I mean, I'm not saying it's 100% true, but this is my theory.
She had it the first time. She died in 24 hours. Buried it 500 years later, right?
They didn't bury it. 2 more family members died before they buried it.
And those took months.
Those took 2 to 3 months.
Oh, then I don't know. I can't say.
Yeah. So she had to have been murdered. Someone gave her the vase, and it was completely unrelated, but someone else was jealous. They showed up. They killed her. Then her family members got the thing that eventually would start killing people.
I hated your stupid head movement just
It's
now.
the Ace Ventura head movement. You folks couldn't hear it. There was a brief pause, and I was like, what happened to her? Brief pause, and I go, she was murdered. It's the Ace Ventura thing where he's determining what happened to Roger Pedactor.
This house is clear.
Exactly, that scene. So I thought you were going to recognize him. I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't. So
I just was like, what's wrong with his head? Did she turn into the Exorcist?
Wow. Or the possibility, it's all a hoax and none of these people actually existed and this entire thing is BS. But that, dear listener, is for you to decide. Until we get big enough where we can travel to Italy and I can investigate this damn thing and find out for myself, I will go to Napoli, Italy, or however you say it, and I will walk around with a translator and be like, hey, we're going to find out where this thing was buried.
No.
We're going to find the object first, and then I'm going to work backwards from that until I find out who made it, and I'm going to have it tested. I'm going to have its half-life tested. I'm going to do all that. But we got to get huge first.
No, the only thing I'm going to investigate if we go to Italy is a bunch of pasta and a really good fucking cannoli, okay?
You can do that while I'm investigating all this other stuff.
Deal. I'm just going to fucking eat the entire time.
I will literally be investigating and have my translator while I'm eating pasta talking to people. And every time I eat it and I like it, I'm just going to look at them and go, with my 3 fingers out, mwah.
You're so stupid.
It's the international symbol for that tastes really
You're
effing
an idiot.
good.
Okay.
But that's the Bassano Vase. It's a lot of legendary story that doesn't really have any way to verify it unless I can get over to Italy and then start figuring some shit out. But I thought it was a really fun story where it's like everyone just seems to continue to die over and over and over, and no one knows why. What they do know is that people get sick of it and eventually just get rid of the object, which makes sense to me. I think that's what would really happen to a cursed object. So
cool.
Let us know what you folks think. Let me know if my time traveler theory holds as much weight as I really feel like it does.
What I've learned from Doctor Who is when the Doctor goes to Cardiff to charge up the TARDIS, he doesn't drop off a battery. He just soaks in.
I'm not saying it was the Doctor who went back there. This was clearly more of a Marty McFly situation where they're just tossing the shit out of the Mr. Fusion and they don't know what the hell they're leaving behind. So
all right.
You're going with like TARDIS rules. The Doctor is an experienced time traveler. This was something who couldn't tell a charged battery from an uncharged battery.
Goddamn Marty McFly.
You just never know what's going to happen. But that's my theory. So I hope you folks enjoyed that.
All right.
And I'll turn over the floor to you. So, Robin, you said you're doing paranormal games again, correct?
Yes. So there are definitely a lot of these paranormal games out there. And what better than to bring you more in this second episode of Paranormal Games?
Are we going to recommend that folks don't try this at home?
Yes. I totally have my whole spiel in there. So let me get there.
Okay.
All right.
You tried to jump my bones about the radioactive thing before I got there, so I'm going to try and do that to your stuff just a little bit.
I didn't even realize how many of these paranormal games are out there, and there are a few, and granted, they're not all, legit. They're like creepypasta
You
type
don't
things.
say.
And obviously.
So some of them aren't too legit. They aren't too legit to quit?
Yeah.
Hey.
So the first one I'm going to go over is called The Closet Game. And I kept seeing this on a whole bunch of websites that I was looking through. So
please tell me R. Kelly's not involved. I can't listen to one more thing about this fucking guy.
I'm fighting for my life. Okay. Too soon? Anyway.
That dude is just a monster. An absolute monster.
Now, The Closet Game is something that creeps me out just because darkness is an immediate no for me. And
I'm going to call you out on that. Robin says she's afraid of the dark. Robin says the darkness is an absolute no from her. Whenever we're getting ready to hang out, we're always like, do you want to hang out in this room or the bedroom? And Robin is almost always nowadays in the bedroom in complete darkness, with the only thing illuminating that darkness being her Kindle reading. For someone that's supposedly afraid of the dark, you're just existing in darkness way too often lately.
It's the light to my darkness.
But it's so dimly lit. I can't even see you from the hallway.
Yeah, because it'll hurt my eyeballs.
So you're not that afraid of the dark is the point I'm trying to make. There's people out there that are cringing right now hearing that you do that.
But the light in the hallway is on, so there's light coming in from the hallway.
There's been times where the whole upstairs is dark.
No, the light's always on out there, man. Always.
So Tom Bodette lives here. We'll leave the light on for you.
Oh,
that dude, the Motel 6 guy.
Who the hell is Tom Bodette?
There's this entire arc in in Adventure Zone where every person they meet in a town is named Tom Bodette. It's just funny. You gotta listen to it.
Anyway, so it is a creepypasta in essence, but I wanted to categorize this under games because I do what I want. And
wow.
This particular game kind of stems from the existence and beliefs in a few different boogeymen, which are, what you're scared of growing up, right? Something living in your closet. It's the Monsters Inc. back there trying to come out and scare you. Many of these boogeymen are one that we haven't covered on the podcast yet. So like El Kukui or Butzemann in Germany, or the Jumbi in Guyana, and other places. So there's a whole bunch of different creatures, legends, existences that are pretty similar. Like they live in the freaking closet, they're gonna come and kidnap you.
Or under your bed, or just somewhere hidden in the darkness.
It's just that basic fear that something is living in your closet waiting to kidnap unsuspecting victims. Or suspecting victims, depending. I mean, we never know because they're kidnapped.
Never a victim hiding under a blanket, because that is the ultimate shield.
I agree.
As we've established.
Blankets they have to be the ultimate shield, which is why in, I think, the second Grudge, maybe it was the first Grudge, where the chick goes to her apartment, tries to hide under the blanket, and the freaking chick comes under the blanket, and you just hear her.
So it's not the ultimate shield then?
No. And she comes and you just hear this throaty sound, and you hear you see the body coming up under the blanket, and you see it moving, and then you see her face come up because she's like this, and you just see the
You
blanket.
say she's like this, and this is an audio medium,
I'm
and no
showing
one
Adam.
can see you.
So like the blanket, she's hiding under the blanket, and you just see this chick's face come out of the blanket, and it's just so scary.
So it's like coming up from your feet, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm gonna die, like I'm just gonna be like, hey, how you doing?
All right. Anyway, I seriously had no idea that there were so many different types of boogeymen all over the world. And I want to thank Ghost in My Machine. It's an awesome, like, spooky blog. They cover so many different things. It was great. So this game here seems to be a no-win type of game. There's no reason why you would do it other than for the thrill of just doing it. And I'm going to say don't do it. Just don't do it. Maybe you want to because you want to tempt fate or something like that. And you're like, I'm not scared, whatever. But why? You're like doing it for no freaking reason. And it's frightening. You're in the dark.
But we're about to tell you exactly how to do it.
If you're going to try any of these games that we talk about on here, just do it at your own risk. We're saying don't do it. So you can't blame us.
It's like, yeah, this stuff might be fake. But at the same time, if you disappear or get injured or die, that shit's on you, bro.
Yeah, in case it actually works. Like, no. So, step 1, you need one person. The person that's actually going to go into the closet to do this,
okay,
right?
you got it.
All right. Step 2, you choose your closet. So, what closet you're going to do? It has to be dark. From what I read, it had to be one that has a door. So, kind of like a pantry walk-in type closet.
So, either sliding or closing door.
Yeah. I mean, I would prefer, a doorknob, but whatever. You do you, right? And make sure it's safe and have a fire extinguisher nearby just in case.
Wow, are you gonna set the closet on fire?
Okay, step 3.
This one is from Jim Morrison of The Doors. This is how you play the closet game.
Step 3. Obtain a match. You need a match for sure.
I fucking knew it. I was just kidding. This is getting really weird.
Wait for nightfall, so it has to be at night.
Of course.
And then you make sure all the lights in your room and in your closet are all gone. Everything's dark. Curtains are pulled closed. Everything is pitch black. Like, you shouldn't be able to see anything.
If you don't have curtains, you can use aluminum foil over your windows, kids. I don't know why I told you that, except that I used to do that so I could sleep like it was dark outside every minute of the day back when I was in middle school, and it was awesome.
Yeah, no, the HOA would be like, nah, man, you gotta take that aluminum off.
Only if it's showing to the street, otherwise they can't see it without coming on your property, and if they do that, then you can shoot them. It's in the Bible.
You can see it from the street.
In, like, our room? No, you can't.
Yes.
From the other street outside the HOA.
Right out there, yeah, if you see it.
Okay. Kids, don't worry about what's going on with the HOA. If you need to do this for a day, you do you.
Okay.
Also, don't do this.
All right. So, when I was reading this, just thinking about it was starting to give me anxiety because pitch black where you can't see anything, I don't even just know. I would never. Okay. The darkness seriously freaks me out. Being in small spaces freaks me out. Getting into the bathroom on a plane sometimes gives me anxiety because it's such a small little closet, and then you walk out of the bathroom and it's dark. I'm just like, no.
Every time I get into the bathroom on the airplane, I'm like, how do people have sex in here? And I wave Robin in and she never comes in. I'm like, what the hell,
You've
man?
never once done that.
You're just never looking.
You're stupid. Anyway.
The stewardesses are all like, this is inappropriate, sir. And I'm like, no, she'll look back. Just hang on.
Make sure you have a match on you when you enter your closet of choice, preferably with any flammable items out of reach.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is just a really bad game to play, kids.
Yeah, so preferably nothing that could possibly get set on fire. So you walk in, and then you're facing the closet door, and you make sure...
Wait, you walk in, then you turn around and face the closet door. Okay.
So you make sure it's absolutely dark, there's no light at all, and you stand there. Just stand there, not moving.
In the darkness.
In the dark for 2 minutes. Don't speak, nothing. Just stand there. And I'm going to say that you don't have a timer on you because everything's supposed to be dark, no light, no nothing. So count with Mississippi's. That's the best way to do it, I think.
That's what the kid did in Poltergeist, and that worked out for him. I mean, the tree reached in through the window and tried to eat him.
Anyway, make sure you've waited long enough. Then hold the match in front of you and speak the words, "Show me the light or leave me in darkness."
Wow.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Show me the money, but you have to scream it like Cuba Gooding Jr. And if you haven't seen Jerry Maguire,
show me the money.
See it.
then you listen. So once you say those words, you just listen. And when I read this the first time, I totally got chills. I was sitting there and I had chills all over. It was freaking me out because the idea that you're in darkness and you're just waiting.
Who are you asking, per se? Like the devil or the closet monster?
The closet monster is what I get.
Why
It's
would
the
they ever
boogeyman.
Why would they show you the light if they don't like the light?
That's why you're in darkness. If you
why would you ask them to show you the light? Why would that be an option for the boogeyman, basically?
I don't know. If you hear whispers in the darkness, you light the match right away. And
How? Do you have something to strike the match on? You told me to go in there with nothing but a match.
I said to make sure you have the match on you.
Yeah, but what do you strike the match on?
With whatever you want.
Oh, well, that's not how most matches work,
so
Robin.
So you have the matchbook box with
That's
you.
a very important thing to let people know. Bring the matchbook thing in there with you.
How else are you going to light it?
That's what I was saying. You said just take the match. You have to be very specific. I'm going through these instructions like I'm building a peanut butter and jelly, and we all know how that turns out if you're not specific.
I've seen people light matches on their face.
Yeah, because they have really, really rough stubble. If this is a kid doing it, he's not going to have rough stubble.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. So you light the match and wait. And if nothing happens, just don't turn around, don't move. You just wait. And if you're still alive, then you open the closet door, you exit the closet, and then you close the door again. The entire time never turning to look inside the closet. And some say you should never look inside that closet again if you can help it. At least never without any lights on, if at all possible. Like, you should have all the lights on if you ever want to open that closet again. And I seriously had chills reading this because I was like, but the closet.
So you light the match yourself and then you step out of the closet, correct? That's if you hear whispers.
And you just wait. You light the match and then you wait.
How long do you wait until you exit the closet?
It doesn't say, okay?
Wow. This is a very non-specific game that's apparently life or death.
So if nothing happens, then you don't move, don't turn around, you just wait. And then if you're still alive, you exit the door. Okay, but never look back in the closet. So
if your light fails to match and you hear the whispering around you still,
you gone. You ain't there no more.
You whisper back, you merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it, molded by it. And then they'll know that they're locked in there with you.
You're ridiculous. So after the game is over, some have said that strange things began happening at night when they left the closet door open. And then you should never look into the closet with the lights off because it's said that you may see two glowing lights like the tips of two lit matches staring back at you. And it may or not be a set of eyes.
Wow.
Yeah. It doesn't say how you fail. Like, when I was reading, I was like, how do you fail? I don't understand.
So wait, was this a game that's been done before, or was this an actual creepypasta about a game?
I think it was a creepypasta, and it was just shared a whole bunch on the internet and went viral. I don't know.
And then people just assume that it's real at this point?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Slender Man.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of really bad instruction on this. If these were instructions for building furniture, you clearly bought this game from IKEA. That's what I'm saying right now.
Okay. Well, IKEA furniture instructions are great. Because
you're insane.
I built that desk there. I built our dresser. I built that table.
We built our dresser. Thank you very much. You finished the dresser because I had to record an episode of Nerd Chills, which you decided not to be on that night.
I did it. Just saying. And the directions were good. I don't know why people shit all over IKEA directions. They're fine. But yeah, so it doesn't say how you fail or what'll happen to you if it happens. But the game kind of insinuates that you'll probably get kidnapped or killed or whatever.
Or just disappear.
Yeah. This one just freaked me out because I hate the dark. And I hate, like, imagine being in complete darkness and you're just waiting for whispers. You're just waiting to hear whispers. Or what if you hear scraping? Like, you hear scraping while you're standing in this dark closet. It just freaks me out.
What freaks me out is being in total darkness and then feeling like there's something right next to you. That freaks me. I thought you were going to say you're going to light the match and then it's going to get blown out. Like, that creeps me out too. But, like, I don't know. The thing about this game is there's so many things that they left out where it's like you don't know what to strike the match on. And it's like, unless it's like one of those matches that are supposed to strike anywhere, which don't work most of the time.
You should just know.
You shouldn't ever have to assume when reading directions on something that's life or death on how you're supposed to light the match. That's my point. And then when it says, like, you light the match and then you wait, and after you're done waiting, you exit the closet. Well, guess what? Matches have a very specific amount of time they're going to burn for, and then guess what? No more match. So you have to know, do I exit when it's still burning or once it's done? Also, do I let it burn all the way down to my fingertips or do I blow it out myself? Because it really hurts when you burn yourself with a match.
You're ruining this.
I'm just saying, like, I need very specific instructions if I'm going to take my life into my own hands. So
Get out.
we need to figure out who wrote this and ask them for more detailed instructions. Unless they're gone already and they were taken by the closet monsters.
Anyway, I just think it's scary if something came out from behind you or something like that. It freaks me out. I don't, just small spaces, dark spaces, big ol' nope.
Completely pitch black spaces where you feel like something is directly next to you or behind you. That is absolutely terrifying for me. So yeah, I definitely triggered a little bit when I was listening to that. That's why I'm asking so many questions where I'm like, so how do I get out of this closet? I need specific details.
Okay. So this next one is everyone's favorite, Bloody Mary, because everyone's heard of this. And if you haven't, you're about to know. If you don't know, now you know.
So really quick before you start, Robin, you've heard of Bloody Mary before, correct?
Yes.
What was the version that you heard of Bloody Mary?
You just stood in front of the mirror and you said it 3 times.
Lights on or lights off?
Off.
Okay.
Why?
Do you turn the lights on afterwards?
I think it was you flip the switch 3 times and then you leave the switch off and then you say your name 3 times.
So I've heard that you're supposed to turn it off, say Bloody Mary 3 times, and then you're supposed to stand there and wait for something to happen. And then, like, there's no assigned time before you bail on it, but that she's supposed to, show up and scratch your face.
We're supposed to stand there for as long as possible. And then she would, like, pop up in the mirror or something.
Have you ever done Bloody Mary?
No. Will not do it.
I've done it.
Refuse.
I've done it, and then we bailed pretty quick on it, because I'm pretty sure we were, like, 7 or 8 at the time. And we, like, got really close to the mirror for some reason. We thought that that's what you had to do. But you had to go in the bathroom alone. I do remember that.
I think for us, it was when we were in middle school. We were on a soccer team. My best friend at the time, she had a Halloween party at her house. And we invited, like, the girls from our soccer team and everything. And we were all doing stupid stuff, like playing with the Ouija board in the bathroom and doing all that dumb stuff. So that's the only time ever. Never other than that time.
Never straight up Bloody Mary.
Yeah. Nope.
Okay.
So there are a bunch of different iterations of this game, quote unquote game, depending on where you come from, which I think is really cool. And it's just proves like this whole word of mouth thing. Everything changes constantly. And
the game of telephone where things change the further on they get.
Didn't it used to be called, like, Chinese stuff?
That's what I heard it was called growing up until I met you, and you're like, it's just called telephone.
It's just called telephone.
And I was like, I was raised in a very racist place.
Yeah.
What can I say?
I'm just like, no one growing up where I'm from, because I grew up in Hawaii, no one fucking called it that, because very, very Asian, like, area to grow up in. So.
I also grew up, and, like, this is just saying, this is what people said it was, but, like, if you come to a stoplight and everyone jumps out of the car and, like, runs around the car and gets into a different seat, I was told that's called a Chinese fire drill.
What?
I'm dead serious. Not even joking.
Why? Oh, my gosh.
Have you heard of that, and is it named differently for you?
I've heard it called a fire drill.
See? This is because it's where I grew up. So I'm glad we're overcoming these things together, and we're having this dialogue about it.
Racist. Anyway, so this game has been called Hell Mary or Mary Worth as well. So you got options. I think Adam even went over one in our Japanese Legends episode called Hanako-san, and she's the one where you go to the girls' bathroom on the 3rd floor, and at the 3rd stall, you knock 3 times and then say, Hanako-san, are you there? It's like pretty much saying, are you there, Hanako-san, in Japanese. And then you hear someone say, I'm here, in Japanese, obviously.
I'm pooping, go away.
And then you enter the stall, and there will be a girl in a red skirt. Or a white hand comes out of the door, or a bloody handprint appears. It depends on what part of Japan you're in. But that's their version of Bloody Mary, where, like, teenagers do this stuff. And it really depends on where you're from, which is why, I mean, there's so many options. Even in a different country, there's just different regions have different stuff. So it's kind of cool. You've probably played it during a sleepover or a Halloween party like me. And I know I've seen it played before. I will never do it myself. I just think a dozen screaming little girls is the funniest sound. It's just...
and I'm going to go ahead and bring up that video of the guy flipping the switch on the breaker box. while his little sister and her friends are playing with the Ouija board, because that
Yeah.
is one of the funniest videos I've ever seen on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just hear screaming like someone's going to die in the shrillest, youngest little voices.
When we were
it's so funny.
that Halloween party, when we were playing the stupid Ouija board, I wasn't touching it. So all these other girls were touching it. And then you're in there in the dark, and then one girl says something so stupid, and then all the girls just start screaming. Oh, my God. I can't. Not even imagining, remembering being a little girl, like, it just makes me laugh. Okay. Darkness and mirrors. Recipe for poopy pants. I'm good.
That's hilarious.
Wikipedia tells me that Bloody Mary is a folklore legend that is about a ghost / phantom. And no, not Danny Phantom. Did you ever watch Danny Phantom?
I have no idea who that person is.
Oh my gosh, it's a cartoon character. Anyway, or a spirit that you can conjure to reveal the future. And they have...
I did not know that she could reveal the future.
So they have this cool picture on Wikipedia where it's a drawing, or like kind of like a comic, of a little girl holding a candle facing a big mirror. And there's the face of a dude in the mirror that's supposed to be the face of her future husband, which I think is neat. And there is a stereotypical silhouette of a witch in it, which is kind of creepy. But whatevs, you know?
I think they played Bloody Mary in one of the Paranormal Activity games. And when they did it, like, shit pops off. Like, doing that is what, like, triggered the demon in the house, where it's like,
way.
oh, yeah, like, things are going to get bad now. Like, you guys are playing with this shit.
What?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure. They played some form of that. I don't know if it was exactly Bloody Mary. But they have, like, little tiny things happening. And they go into the bathroom, they play Bloody Mary. And then after that, it's, like, people getting, like, dragged up and down stairs and being, like, lifted off their feet by, like, their hair getting pulled.
That's creepy. All right, guys, just don't play it, okay? So according to the interwebs, the ritual goes to the tune of young woman walks up a flight of stairs backwards, holding a candle and a hand mirror in a darkened house. So already, I'm kind of like, hand mirror, creepy.
Again, playing with fire. This is just a recipe to set yourself on fire.
Candle, creepy. Walking backwards, super creepy. And all of this stuff, I'm like, no wins. No, you don't got me, because none of it is cool. And so as they look into the mirror, they're supposed to see their future husband's face. But you also had a chance to see things like a skull or the Grim Reaper, meaning that you were going to die before marriage, which is fucked up. But
kind of good to know, I guess.
I'm just... Who?
If you never get married, then you don't have to. You can live a nice, long, healthy life.
But who teaches their kids these games?
I don't think anyone teaches their kids. I think kids hear it from older kids when they hear it, and it just trickles down.
Ugh, it's like so dumb. I just hate it. I think it's kind of like it follows. You got to pass it on, man. Just pass it on, or she'll get you.
Wow. But in a different way, since we're discussing how this is usually like stupid little kids doing this.
Yeah. So today I learned about something called cataptromancy or something, or captromancy. Which is pretty much divination. So it works in that way, where how this started was, it was a Roman practice where you used a mirror and you prayed to the goddess at the Temple of Ceres in Patras, someplace in Rome. And a sick person would use the mirror to see if they were going to die or recover by how they saw their face in the mirror, which I think is cool, right? I mean,
yeah. And eventually the reflective surface got removed, that mirror got melted down, and someone made a friggin' vase out of it, and now we've connected the two topics. We figured this out. Good job, Robin.
So anyway, some iterations of the ritual have people repeat Bloody Mary 3 times, which it was for me, and others say you have to say it 13, which I saw on a couple websites. Yeah,
I'd lose track really quickly. I'd be like, whoa, Bloody Mary, I'm going to start over. I'm not sure if I'm at 6 or 7.
I'm going to let you finish.
I'm going to start over. Eventually we'll get to 13.
Then her corpse or ghost appears in the mirror, and she can be seen as good or evil, sometimes covered in blood. And I'm sure a lot of this with the game is all spread by word of mouth, so it's all different. And regardless, those that have performed, or like you say they performed the ritual, say that they hear screams or curses, and it's said that you could have your eyes scratched out, like that's what you were saying, right? That part of the curse is pure speculation and is definitely harder to believe for me, because that just sounds like bullshit.
I think it's supposedly things that people pass down where it's like, we did this ritual and this is what happened.
Yeah.
Where it's like not official results, but people telling you what they think happened.
Yeah.
Where it could just be someone faked it, like scratched their own face. They did, and then of course, like you could scratch your own face. Then by the time 3 or 4 people have talked about it, it's like their eyeballs were scratched out of their heads.
Yeah. I know growing up, I was told you'd get scratched all over, or you'd see a horrifying witch or something weird in the mirror. But it is just a variation. There's so many different ways that bad things could happen to you in there. There is a variation of the game that has you call out, "I stole your baby, Bloody Mary."
I've heard that one before, too.
Which is supposed to trigger her because Queen Mary the First suffered from multiple miscarriages. She couldn't have kids. And miscarriages are no joke, guys. So don't be like,
don't taunt the ghost of someone because you have their baby that they were not allowed to have. Because if ghosts exist, you kind of deserve to have your eye scratched out at that point.
She also
except if you're talking about that movie Tag, where they fake a miscarriage, and what's his face tells her, like, I'm not saying that I hope that happens to you. I'm just saying that if that does happen to you, that's what you get.
Everyone's just like, oh my god. No, that
really
movie is a really good movie. I liked it. Anyway, so Queen Mary I also executed and burned people at the stake during her reign of 5 years. There's also one where you turn around 100 times in front of a mirror.
And then you fall down because you're dizzy as shit 100 times.
I mean, not if you do it slow, right?
That would take so long.
She'd be like, it's worth it. What do you want? What do you want to see in your future?
I imagine ghosts are just watching you like, look at this stupid person. I guess I have to show up. They've been really dedicated. They spun around 100 times.
And then there's one where, well, maybe that's why you see stuff in the mirror, because you're so dizzy.
That could be.
And then there's one where you blow a candle out while you call out her name. That's creepy. Nothing with candles. I like candles, making my room smell good. But other than that, like, I don't play with that shit. Whenever I think of, like, calling out her name, all I think of is the Neverending Story. And at the end of the Neverending Story, there's a point where the world is collapsing and stuff like that, and the princess is like, Bastion, say my name, and she's just yelling it, and it's just, I don't know. You need to finish this movie. It is so good.
Meh, you're gonna make me watch it for you've never seen that.
So this is supposed to be a children's game, but it has a pretty long history. Its origins and the way you play it don't really add up. I don't know. It's existed for so long, no one really knows the real origin of the quote-unquote game.
I mean, I've heard it's supposed to be a bunch of different things, and there's so many variations, it's hard to tell.
Yes, it's largely believed that the origins of the names Mary Worth and Bloody Mary come from a slight mix of different people in history.
Right.
So there's a lot of speculation being taken from Queen Mary I of England, who reigned during the Tudor period. She was called Bloody Mary. And then there's Elizabeth Bthory, who was rumored to bathe in the blood of young women to keep her like young, beautiful looks. Have you ever heard of her before?
I've heard of that. I didn't know that's what her name was. That's also super creepy.
I was going to cover her in one of the episodes, but it's just going to be a huge history lesson. So I was like, so her name is obviously not Mary, but those that claim that you'll see a woman covered in blood lends to the idea that it's a mix-up of people, which makes sense to me. And then the idea of the game being called Mary Worth is supposedly derived from a victim of the Salem witch trials, but no one involved in the Salem witch trials actually went by that name, at least not in recorded history. So who knows? It's weird because all these history books, like, there's so much that's missing because it wasn't written down.
Wasn't properly documented.
Right.
You figure if they were going to be doing something as horrible as committing the atrocity of murdering young women who were free thinking and calling them witches, they could have at least kept better records of that shit.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard to know where it all started. Now, I want to share with you guys something that I thought was really cool, and we're getting into science and reasoning, and
it's
neat. But in 1804, there was a Swiss physician. He was a physician, politician, and philosopher named Ignaz Paul Vital Troxler. And he liked to kind of dip his fingers in a few pots, apparently. And they discovered that by staring at a single point for a short period of time, kind of like staring into a mirror waiting for Bloody Mary to appear, things surrounding that point kind of fade from your view like they've disappeared. And it was cool because this website I went to, it had like a little plus sign in the middle and a bunch of purple dots going around, and then a green one would like go around the circle. It was like a little GIF, and it kept going around. And as you stare at that little plus sign, all the purple dots, everything starts disappearing. And I was like, what? My mind was blown. It was cool. Everything surrounding that little point that you're staring at disappears, and it's called the Troxler Effect. And it's kind of like an optical illusion, or it is an optical illusion, pretty much, which I thought was really neat. So when you think you see stuff, that might be why.
Or you miss stuff. I know a lot of times if you're too focused while you're driving, you could have a blind spot be created by your eyes.
Yes.
And that's why people are like, I didn't see them coming. And it's like, you were looking right there. It's like getting like hypnotized by the road. That can happen too, where you just start like missing things that are directly in front of you.
Yeah. And then in 2010, there was an experiment done by Giovanni B. Caputo at the University
Kabuto, yeah, he turns into Kabutops. I'm familiar with this guy.
Yeah. It's a Pokemon reference for those of you that don't know. Anyway, at the University of Urbino's Department of Psychology, and they had 50 people between the ages of 21 and 29, and they put them into a dimly lit room by themselves, obviously, not all 50 at once, but they sent them into a dimly lit room and made them stand in front of a mirror for 10 minutes. So quiet, dim room, just staring at this mirror
like
for 10 minutes.
Like sensory deprivation almost, but nothing but a mirror.
Yeah. So 66% of these people reported seeing huge deformations of their faces. 18% saw one of their parents' face, but with deformed features. 28% saw a stranger that they'd never seen before. 28% saw an old woman or a child. And 18% saw some sort of animal. 48% saw a being that was monstrous and fantastical.
So obviously some of these overlap, because that definitely adds up to more.
I was going to say, the percentages aren't supposed to add up to 100. It's like 18%, the 18% that saw their parents could be part of the 66% that saw
the monster too.
Or the deformations in their faces or stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and that is called the Caputo effect, obviously, because he's the one that did the experiment. And your brain pretty much fills in gaps with whatever information is floating around in your brain, which is creepy, I think, but at the same time is really cool what the brain can do, which is why sometimes when you're walking around, you think that you see things out of the corner of your eye. And I thought that was the weirdest thing. Because sometimes I feel like I see a shadow or something and I'm like, what is that? But it is just your brain's playing tricks on you. Other times they're demons. But
your brain can play tricks on you. And also it is possible that maybe you're being triggered and you're actually seeing something.
Yeah. So I think that's really, really, really
It's important
cool
to keep in mind too that it is very possible for your brain to do this to you in case you have like anxiety because you're afraid like something like that is happening. So there's like, you have the logical explanation. We're not saying that you have to take that no matter what is happening in your life or what your situation is. It's kind of nice to know. It's more reassuring to know that's like, it is possible for your brain to do this to you without there being the presence of like some horrible demonic entity following you.
Right. All I know is if it could actually make a Bloody Mary cocktail appear, that'd be great.
Wow, like that stupid meme where it's like Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, and then it's
my
like,
God, it works.
Holy shit, and then the next scene is like them picking up a Bloody Mary off the counter. Like, that's amazing.
I would love that. That'd be great. But yeah, that is the 2 games I covered today.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I would not suggest doing any of the things we have covered, especially the ones with candles, because that is just
asking for fire. Yeah.
The closet. I don't like
fire.
the closet game at all. Like you said, like there's no upside, like there's no winning scenario to it. So like, why would you even bother doing it? And then when it's like, go into your closet, make sure everything's totally dark, take a match with you. Who knows how to light it, but you're going to need to do that. Also, we're not sure how long it takes for you to come out. If you hear stuff, you're probably going to die. Good luck. It's like, this game sucks.
The scariest one is that King's Game one I covered in the first Paranormal Games episode, because that one freaks me out.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Again, a lot of stuff that you need to do in order to get there. And then
and
we
it
watched
has
that.
to be on time.
And then we watched that movie, that Minuteman movie, which was
I
like,
will cover the Minuteman in a different episode.
Yeah, that's
or Midnight Man, not Minuteman.
Midnight Man, my bad. That one's okay. But yeah, that's pretty good. Good job.
Thanks.
I'm really curious, and I don't want to encourage anyone to do this and any of these things. However, as a 33-year-old male adult, I am curious how many grown-ups try these games once they're not children and more prone to being like terrified at stuff. And I'm not saying that this needs to be a YouTube series or people need to like hashtag scaryish and take videos of themselves doing the Bloody Mary challenge.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying if you're going to do that, you might as well like at us, because I'm very curious as to how it's going to turn out.
That'd be cool.
So
I mean, it'd be hilarious, but
I'm not doing it. That's all I'm saying. So if you folks are like, I'm going to do this, like I haven't thought about Bloody Mary in a long time, in a dog's age, at us, bro. We want to see what happens. So good stuff. I think that's just about everything that we have for episode 67. So, folks, if you want to send us your stories, maybe you've done one of these games before, email storytime@scarish.com. Or you can go to scarish.com, click contact us, fill out that form, send it our way, tweet us at scarishpod.
yeah, tweet us your experiences, like, at us, totally.
Instagram @scarishpodcast, facebook.com/scarishpodcast to reach out to us that way. You can join our Discord server, go to scarish.com, easiest way to do it. Just scroll down. There's a link to all of our social medias. Click on Discord. It'll take you right there. And you can join the Scarish Spooky Friends gang, which is on our Facebook page as well. So best ways to jump into our community or reach out to us if you would like to. I'm very curious. And if any of you folks wind up playing Bloody Mary, like hit us up. We want to know what happens. Robin, if anyone wants to make monetary donations to us, how can they do so?
So if you go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast, we do have monthly donations there, where we have different tiers, $1 up to some ridiculous amount. But $1 gets you early access and access to all this fun, random clip content that Adam posts. And we will be adding more in the near future, probably reading some stories or poems or something like that. And because we do have a whole bunch of new books. So that'll be really cool.
It's always hard to tell what we want to turn into story content and what we want to turn into bonus content. And we don't try and hide too much behind like a barrier that's like unlocked by money, but at the same time we want to give exclusive content for our patrons.
Right.
So we try and include some stuff, and we're coming up with some fun ideas for some new stuff. Robin and I were discussing some names for some things this today actually. So
yeah,
we'll have some stuff coming out there in the near future.
And then we do have one-time donations at ko-fi.com/garishpodcast. And those are one-time donations. Everything helps us upgrade our studio setup, which is great. That's how we were able to get our new mics and our camera and all this fun stuff for when we do live episodes, which is awesome. And yeah.
Right on. I think that's just about everything that we have. So thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who watches the live episodes.
Yeah, please
it makes
join
it so
us.
much fun. At least try and do it once, and I think you guys are going to keep coming back if you do it.
Yeah, join us for the live episodes. You can join us on twitch.tv or youtube.com or the YouTube app or the Twitch app. They both work. And then we have a special Streamlabs store on Twitch. So if you check out our Streamlabs store, there's exclusive items that aren't on our Teespring store, which is awesome.
If you buy something during the live show, it pops up on the screen
Yeah.
and tells everyone like so-and-so just purchased this item. It's pretty freaking cool.
And then we have live stream donation goals as well. We have just a lot of stuff that goes on. I think this month, if we make the goal, Adam shaves his chest into the bat symbol.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I really want to hit this goal, people.
Join us for the live shows Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Indeed. So thank you so much to everyone who listens, everyone who watches. We appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to do the sign out because I feel like I haven't done it in a while. So
sorry. Please go to scarish.com. We have our store set up there, but I also started a new series that is stuff that I like this month. So it's all these different cool items that I've started using that I love, that I want to share with you guys, and they are attached to Amazon links that if you guys purchase them, we actually get extra stuff to help us live. So
it doesn't cost you anything else, but we actually get money, and we'll put some stuff up there that we recommend or that we're using or that you folks might like.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna try and do that every month. Just post like a blog post on our website for you guys to check out and see what I'm using, because right now moisturizer is a big thing for my dried out face.
Wow, good stuff.
Yeah.
Right on. But I think now that's everything that we have for episode 67. So keep on creeping on, folks, and we'll talk to you later this week.